Well, a very good afternoon to everybody and welcome to our November product webinar. Today we're going to be talking about electronic signatures in class. My name is Sebastian Brennan. I'm one of the consulting team leaders here at class, and I'm joined today by our Senior Product Manager, Ahmad Banya. Very nice to meet you, Ahmad.
Thanks, sir. Welcome, everyone.
So we're going to get things kicked off with a poll question. So I'm just going to launch that for you now. So the first poll question that we would like to know is, excluding the class solution, do you currently use electronic signatures in some part of your business? So we know that quite a few of you have already expressed interest and signed up last week to the class electronic signature functionality. So we'll give you a couple of moments to pop in your response and we'll share that through with you. Looks like quite a few of you are currently using electronic signatures, which is not a surprise given particularly the current times with COVID and the need to actually have those come through. So let me end that poll now and we'll share the results. So looks like vast majority of you have said that you do currently use electronic signatures, which is great. Also, quite a significant portion are saying that you're planning to in the next 12 months, and a few others are saying that you don't plan to in the next 12 months. So we'll stop sharing that and we'll jump into our packed agenda for today. So what we'll start by discussing is an overview of the electronic signature functionality. So Ahmad's going to take you through that, as well as the features and benefit of our integration with DocuSign. I'm going to take you through a demonstration of all the functionality that we've added, including how we can send a document for signature, how to configure an envelope in the DocuSign portal. I'll take you through some brand new functionality that we have around signature tracking, which is a new console, as well as some white labeling that we can configure and notifications, which for those of you who were at our SuperStream webinar recently, you would have seen that we introduced that functionality then. Finally, we'll end by going through the sign-up process of what you need to do to start using this functionality in your business. So as always, we will make a copy of the recording, the slides, and the questions and answers shortly after the webinar. We do have a couple of our colleagues here who will be answering the questions throughout today's webinar, so make sure you pop any questions in the Q&A. Anything that we are not able to answer today will be included in the Q&A pack. And time permitting, we might pick a couple of questions at the end of today's webinar as well. So let me hand over to Ahmad to take you through thank you, Ahmad.
Thanks, sir. So first we'll cover off what are the key pillars of why any business would use electronic signatures, starting with just the obvious one of being faster compared to snail mail. Now we know through data coming in from DocuSign, 80% of the envelopes are signed in less than a day, with slightly shy of 50% that are signed within 15 minutes. Next obvious one would be efficiency. So if you think about the reduction in manual tasks that are involved compared to snail mail, as well as the increased convenience that it offers to not only your customers, but also the employees that are involved in the process of creating these signing packs and envelopes, which directly then obviously results into savings for the business. So again, through DocuSign, we know that it saves an average around $36 per envelope. If you think about the total cost of ownership when it comes to printing a document, putting it in an envelope, putting a stamp on it, running that to probably the post office, and then tracking that snail mail, the amount of productivity loss that generates compared to an electronic means of operating, the savings are pretty obvious there. And last but not the least, they're also more secure compared to traditional means of doing mail. And as Seb will sort of go over in his demo, there is a complete audit trail of all the actions that are performed when it comes to viewing the envelope or signing the envelope. The timestamps are captured as well as IP addresses. So Seb will cover that in his demo. Thanks, sir. So we start with what they are really. So essentially what electronic signatures are they're a legal way to capture consent or approval on electronic documents or forms. They identify the person signing. They are reliable and legally enforceable in most jurisdictions of the world. We always encourage customers to sort of check the legality from state to state because it can vary. So always check local legislation prior to use. In our context of accounting, the primary use cases are SMSFs in forms of tax returns, annual statements, activity statements, minutes and resolutions, to name a few. There's also applications in the trust space with declaration reports and compilation reports. As with what I've said before, we always encourage the customers to check local legislation, and this list is by no means exhaustive. Seb will actually cover off some of our class reports that we have pre-tagged in his demo later. Finally, in terms of key suppliers, DocuSign and Adobe tend to be the big players in this space. I mean, it's becoming a crowded market with a lot of the smaller players now also operating in this space, but DocuSign and Adobe hold the market share, with DocuSign leading by some margin. Thanks, sir.
All right, so we're going to jump into our second poll question of today. So let me just launch that second question. And what we want to know here is around the priorities of choosing a solution. So what is the most important priority for your business when it comes to choosing an e-signature solution? So there's a couple of options that we've got here for you. The security and reliability, the time savings that enables. There's one around the white label branding and configuring that for your business, or also the COVID safe operation. So give you a couple of moments to complete that, and we'll share the poll responses with you. At the moment, it looks pretty unanimous in two of the categories. So we'll close that now and share the results. So 55% of you have stated security and reliability, and 43% have mentioned time saving as the two biggest factors. So Ahmad, do you want to just take us through the next section, going through the features and benefits?
Yes, thanks, sir. So what I'll break down in terms of the features, essentially three different areas or three different parts of the user journey. There's the initial setup. This is where I would call out our integration with DocuSign. So we have partnered with DocuSign, which are the global leader in this space. And a lot of you mentioned security and reliability as your key criteria for selecting a solution. And that's what comes with when you go with a global leader like DocuSign in this space, which is where they separate themselves possibly from the smaller players in this pack. So what we've also done with the setup is like we were talking about before, the customization and the branding capabilities. So a lot of the businesses right now that are using custom branding or white label branding in class, they're able to carry that brand over into the e-signing experience as well. The second winner in your criteria that you've just told us was around time savings, and how that ties with our solution is pre-tagging of reports, report packs, and also custom reports. So some of you that are probably using existing e-signature solutions, if you think about your experience right now, you're probably downloading those reports from class, then re-uploading it to whatever e-signature solution provider you're using, and then you're having to then manually tag each and every section of the report that requires signing. Now think of doing that multiple times a report, and then for multiple different funds or entities every single year, and those costs do add up. So we have tried to sort of deliver efficiencies and savings by doing that for you for all the class reports. Coming over to the preparation and the sending aspect. So there's we do provide, so some of the businesses actually have a reviewer and a preparer workflow where there's a certain staff that's responsible for creating the envelope or the pack, and the manager is then responsible for reviewing that and then sending it off. We do support that using our signature tracker, which offers the capability of seeing drafts, which the managers can then pick up, which Seb will cover in his demo. Also, I want to highlight that you are able to add external documents as well. So you're not just restricted to class reports or report packs. Once you've created your envelope, you're then able to add any external documents like any cover letters, etc., that you wish to add to the pack. There's additional sort of elements around security in access codes. So this is taking care of use cases where a couple in an entity are sharing an email address, where there needs to be a way to differentiate or add a level of security to identify individual signees, which can be done via access codes. And Seb will cover that in his demo as well. Finally, I will cover the review and management of it. So we have created a signature tracker in class. It's a brand new console which allows businesses to keep track of all their signing envelopes, not only at a business level, but also at a fund level. So you can track through the envelope in the various stages that it's at. There's also notifications, which allows businesses to be push notified when there's key events with the envelope that require attention. And also finally, mobile signing. So for all of the members that are on the go using mobile devices, there's a friendlier way to interact and obtain their signatures, which is optimized for mobile devices. All of this just leads into the obvious benefits. You're going to go with a global leader in DocuSign by partnering, by going with the class solution. It's also ISO compliant, so there's peace of mind there, and obvious time savings and efficiencies that come with it. Not to mention a COVID-safe way of doing business, especially in the current times. It's becoming more and more relevant. Thanks, Lynn. Like to also take the audience through how we got here. So this is, of course, we are reaching out and released this to the wider client base, but we did a beta earlier in the year with about 45 odd clients, which generated a good amount of satisfaction with the solution. And when we polled our customers that were part of that beta, a good majority of them reported that they were generating or getting up to 50% time savings with using the class solution as opposed to their current ways of operating. So really good success story there for us. Thanks. And now, hand over to you for the demonstration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmad. So I'm now going to jump into class and take you guys through the features and the functionality that Ahmad has mentioned. So where I'm going to start is the tagging, the pre-tagging of documents. So what I want to mention first of all is the list of supported documents that support the pre-tagging. So once we go into the DocuSign portal, I'll show you what pre-tagging actually looks like. But effectively what we're talking about here is the system class identifying that if there is a individual who's required to sign a particular section, it is automatically going to put a virtual sign here sticker in that place so that when the person is ready to sign the document, they will be signing the correct location. So at the moment, in terms of the class reports, all the reports that require signature are supported in class. The only one that is not supported here at the moment is the bulk lump sum minutes, which was only added recently, and that's one that we will roll out shortly. As we add additional documents that have signing functionality, we will also look to iteratively add these pre-tagging functionality for those documents as well. So these are all the documents that are pre-tagged. Now, in terms of how to ensure that the pre-tagging functionality does flow through for a particular envelope, you do need to do a couple of things. So the first one is business level contacts. You do need to make sure that your business contacts have got an email address recorded. So if we look in this example, we've got our tax agent. I need to make sure that the tax agent, for example, has an email address because then when it comes to the annual return, the tax agent's pre-signing will be tagged and that way they will be able to sign the annual return once completed. So I've got an email address recorded in this example for the tax agent. That's step one. Step two is to make sure that we link the contacts, the business level contacts. You might have auditors, accountant, bookkeeper roles. You need to link them to the entity. Now, today I'm going to be looking at a demo SMSF entity. The electronic signature functionality that class is rolling out supports not just SMSFs, but also trusts and portfolio entities. So I just want to highlight that at this point in time. So you should be aware that the relationship tab under the fund dashboard is going to show you any of these contacts, business level contacts that have been linked to an entity. So in this case, we can see that our tax agent has been linked, and that will be the second requirement to make sure the pre-tagging works. The third requirement is around your members, or if you've got a trust, your beneficiaries for portfolios, your investors. So making sure that you've got an email address recorded there. So members, browse members, click on the member, and under the contact details, you'll find that's where you can enter the email address. For those of you who have previously activated Client View for a particular member, this is where you would have entered the email address previously. If you're not ready to activate Client View yet, just don't click the send invitation. So by entering an email address here, clicking the save and close, that will just record the email address, which will then be used for the pre-tagging functionality. I want to highlight as well in here that the email address that I'm using for this particular fund, it's the same email address for both members. Now, the preference is definitely to have a unique email address that is used for your members to be able to identify that they are a unique person signing. However, DocuSign has some functionality around an access code, and I'll show you that shortly. And that allows you to effectively still send your envelope to the same email address, even though you might have multiple members sharing that email address. So that's something that I'll show you shortly. The final point with pre-tagging, and this is something that does catch a couple of people out. If you have added email addresses subsequent to running a period update and tax finalisation, then you may need to roll back the tax finalisation and the period update, depending on which section of the documents you are completing. So for example, the annual return, it may not flow through correctly unless you roll back the tax finalisation. So just make sure that you are keeping that into consideration. If you've checked all of the details and it's still not flowing through, just go back and roll back these details before you generate the document for signing. So we're ready to now go and generate our document, and this can be done in two places. Under Run Report, which is for your single reports, as well as obviously using the shortcut here, but also run a report package. So at this point, it's worth noting that you can only send documents for signatures at the entity level. So it's not available at the business level, only available at the entity level. So I'm going to select a report package. I'm going to show you how we configure that in class. What you'll notice is a new button, Send for Signature. So the Send for Signature button is one that will, if clicked, generate the report, send it to the DocuSign portal, which we can then configure. You still have the old, traditional Run button, Export. So if you click those buttons, that will just run the report, will not send it to DocuSign portal. In terms of running a report, I mean, in this example, I've got my list of reports. I'm just going to configure the annual trustee minute resolution to untick the parts that were not relevant for this particular report pack before I run it. So what I could do is I could click Send for Signature. That would generate the report. It takes only a marginal bit longer to generate the report and send it to the DocuSign portal. What you can do though is you can actually click this button, go back into class, keep processing for about a minute, and come into this history. If you click refresh, you will see the document that you have already generated, and you can continue with draft. I will also show you a little bit later the signature tracking console, which will allow you to also click into a draft document that was used And that will be relevant, particularly if you have different roles, so preparer and a reviewer, because if you're a preparer and someone else is going to be reviewing, they will not be able to see your history, but they will be able to see documents that are in the signature tracking console. So I'll show you that a little bit later. So what we're going to do in this example, we're just going to continue with this graph that we had previously generated. And what this will do is configure the report, take it to the DocuSign portal where we can go through the functionality. So it's now ready. We'll continue with the DocuSign. So I'm going to click on that button to continue. And I'm going to show you how to configure the envelope in the DocuSign portal. So the first thing that you will see here is in the top left-hand side, you will notice the report pack. Our document is available, and we are able to add additional documents if we need. So we've got this button for upload. Now the point I want to make here is, when do you add a report as a custom report to the report pack? And when should you add or upload a document separate to the report pack? So for those of you not aware, a report can be added as a custom report, which could be a Word document using class merge field. It could be a PDF, or could be one of the class templates. That can be added to a report pack already. So the suggestion is, if you're using a report consistently or frequently between multiple entities, best to add as a custom report and add it to the report pack. If though you have an ad hoc report that you want to add, it might be that you have a data feed, for example, on Macquarie. So Macquarie, for example, is one of the data feed providers that supports electronic signatures. Because it's only a one-off, you might just add it to the pack at this point as an additional document. But there's no limit on how many additional documents you can upload here. So let's go through some of the other features that are available in the DocuSign portal. So the first one is that you do have the ability to set a signing order. And that's important because in this case, we can see we've got a tax agent and the two members. So the moment it's set, the tax agent by default will be signing first. My preference would be to have the tax agent actually sign this last. I'm going to drag, you can drag the pre-signed or pre-tagged contacts across, and we can also then change the number on the box here. So we can either make it 1, 2, and 3, or we could make them 1, 1, and 2. Once I've done that, I can review the signing order, and that will show me the order here. This is ED being the electronic document, and these are the various individuals that will be signing. And you can see here, if I was to make this also 1 and check that signing order, it would be sent to those concurrently. So we talked a little bit about the pre-tagging functionality. So ultimately what it means in the DocuSign portal is that you can see the name has come through, their associated email from class has also come through. If you have additional documents that you upload and you need someone to sign who is not already added, then you can add them as a manual entry by clicking the add recipient. So we can type in their name, we can type in their email address, and we can type in their role in relation to this document. So it might be that they need to sign. It could be that we just want to copy them in to the document, or it could be that we may want to assign the sign with notary role. So they're the options that are available. In terms of the add from contacts, if you've used DocuSign before, you may notice that you're able to maintain an address book of contacts in here. We are not using this functionality with class. We've disabled that functionality. And the reason for that is because we wanted to keep contacts in one place, so there's no confusion. And that place is going to be in the class application itself. So what it means is, if you have members, if you have trustees, you have tax agents, and you want to keep their email addresses up to date, do so in the class application. It will flow through if you've got the pre-tagging, and that's how the contacts will flow. So ignore this button on add from contacts. A few other functions in here. So we talked a little bit about the ability to identify a member, particularly if they're using the same email address, and that can be done by adding an access code. So what we can do here is we can add an access code for each individual, and that can be done by sending them as a separate message. It could be a text message, for example, that we use to identify that access code to that person only. And that makes sure that when they sign, they will be prompted to add the access code. So that's optional. You don't have to use this functionality. You could also use it even if a different email address was provided as additional security. It's a decision that your business will need to make. As well as adding an access code, you can add a private message. So where you may want to add a private message, you may have the chairperson of the fund or the entity, and they may be specifically required to sign additional documents. If that's the case, you may want to make a note in the private message to let them know. The private message will appear as part of the email, and you can also configure a generic email message down below. So we can see here the email subject will default to the name of the report that you have run, and you can type in a message in relation to that fund, and that will be seen by all the individuals signing. So this function here for private message is just an additional function which will show both the email message as well as the private message. So that's something that can be used. I'm not going to use it in this particular example. In terms of advanced options, there's a couple of things that are DocuSign preset functionality. So reminders, very useful functionality there. By default, it is enabled, and it's enabled for 7 days and 7 days between reminders. That just means that if someone hasn't viewed or signed a document, they will get a prompt automatically from DocuSign. So if you don't want that, turn it off, or you can also change the length of time between reminders. Your expiration, this might be particularly useful as you approach a lodgement due date. If you want to make sure that you're getting the documents back in time for you to meet the lodgement deadline, then you can adjust the number of days, which will give you the date. Note the date is in American order, so it's month followed by days. And that's something that you can also configure a number of days when the final warning is sent to the people who are to sign. A few other options, including the ability to configure or allow mobile-friendly signing. That's particularly useful for actually signing with their fingers for the trustees. It is a little bit harder to view, particularly the semester report pack on the mobile. So generally we'd recommend that the signers are using a desktop version of to sign the report pack, but potentially they may prefer to use their phone if they want to put their own email signature or own signature using their fingers. So these are the advanced options. The final point to make here is that they are not configurable at a business level. So if there's something you want to change, you will need to change it each time. Every time there's a new envelope, it will go back to the default of this view. So it's just something to keep in mind. So it looks like there's quite a lot here, but generally speaking, you'll have run your report pack, you may add your access code, put in your message and review if there's anything to change on the advanced options, and you're ready to do the configuration. So we recommend at this point you go to next. You could send now, but it's not recommended yet. So let's show you now the next screen, which is around configuring where someone needs to sign. So I'm going to focus your attention on the top left-hand side of the screen. So I'm selecting here all the individuals that have been tagged to sign. So we've got Elise, we've got Richie, and we've got our tax agent, Damien. And notice that as I select those different roles, we are actually getting a different color on the left-hand side. And those colors are indicating standard fields. Now, what is a standard field? Effectively, standard field is things like sign here sticker. If you imagine a physical world, it'd be taking that sticker and saying, right, well, you need to sign this particular location. But the sign here sticker does indicate which individual. So you can see the colour is indicating who that sign here sticker effectively relates to. We can add things like initials and the date signed. So these are all the manual way that we can tag a document if class has not pre-tagged it for us. So this is useful where you have additional documents, like in the case of Macquarie data feed, that can be added, and then you could add the manual sign here fields. In the middle of the screen, we have our report, so we can scroll through that. On the right-hand side, where you have quite a few reports, like in this report pack, it can be quite long and tedious to go through the middle screen. So the right-hand side gives us a shortcut view of all of the screen, or all the reports. And you can see here, we've got the pre-tagged indicated by those virtual sign here stickers. So if I click on this page, you can see the yellow, which remember was Elise, and the blue, which is Richard. So that's the pre-tagging functionality at work. And you can see that in this case, it's pre-tagged all of the required sections of the report pack. A few other features on this right-hand side is you have the ability to rotate. Now, you don't need to necessarily rotate class reports because you'll notice that the orientation of the reports is correct. If we looked at, say, the unrealised capital gain, you can see it's automatically configured to the correct orientation, as are all the investment reports. So this is, again, more if you have a document external to class, which you've added in, that's where you can use the rotate button. You can move documents up and down, however, not within a report pack. So you can see here, if I try and move a page within a report pack, it will not let me. If I added an additional document and want to move that to the top above the report pack, then it would allow me to do that. So that's what that functionality is there. So the final thing I want to show you is the recipient preview. So it's definitely a good idea to go through a final check to see what the recipient experiences before you send that out. And quite handily, DocuSign has given us the ability to view this as a desktop view, as a tablet view, or as a mobile view. So we're able to see what it looks like on those different devices. Again, the recommendation would be that desktop view is going to be the cleanest way of signing that. So if you click on the top, you can select your individual who's going to be signing, and you can see what their experience is going to be. So if I click on Start, it'll take me straight to the areas they need to sign. I can either click on the sign, which will just take me to the next, or I can also click on the yellow sign here. It will add a signature, but this is just a sample. So it just says signature. It doesn't actually show up when the document is sent. It's just to give you a bit of a feel for what experience your individuals are going to go through. So you can do that for all of your roles and make sure that what they're seeing is correct. And once you're happy with that, then we're good to send the document. So that can be done using the send button here. So that's how we configure an envelope. As I said, it looks like there's quite a lot of functionality to get your head around, but once you've done it once or twice, it'll be quite seamless, especially with the pre-tagging. It's really just a matter of checking, adding additional tag if there are additional reports that are added, and then doing a preview before you send. So let me now take you through what the experience is like for the individuals who are going to sign. So they're going to receive an email. So this is the email with the sign here button, the name of the person, and you can see that we can configure the logo. So I've just clicked on the review document part there. So apologies for not showing you that previously. I'm going to enter the code that I was received by text, and that will take me through to the DocuSign portal once it has validated, and then I can go through the signing experience. So you can see here, continue, and I'm not going to save this as a password yet, but I can go through and action this document and sign where required. So simple as selecting the sign here. You can choose to draw or upload your signature, or you can choose the default signature that DocuSign is going to provide you. So I'm going to do that. Adopt and sign, and it's going to take me through to all the locations where I need to sign. And then once I've completed that, I will get a button here where I can finish. So quite a seamless experience for the person who is signing. And I'll show you in a moment what it looks like on the side of the administrator. So at this point, they don't have to sign up. They don't have to set up a password. They can just say no thanks, and they will receive a copy via email anyway. So that's the DocuSign experience for the person signing. So what we're going to look at very quickly now is the signature tracking console. So the signature tracking console, it's available both at the entity level. It's also available at the business level. And I'm going to look at it now at the business level and take you through the different functionality that is available here. So you can see here the shortcut for signature tracking console. And we've got the ability in here to see the different statuses of the envelopes. So earlier on, when I showed you in the report history section, I said that you could, if you had run a report, go into the report history and open up a document that was already sent for signature. If you have a different role, for example, if I'm the reviewer or the person sending out the envelope, you would do this under the signature tracking console. So I would come to my draft, click on the document, that's going to take me to the DocuSign portal. I can, on the right-hand side, delete a draft if I don't need it anymore. I can also delete all drafts if required, and that will delete it for everyone in the business. And it will automatically delete after 30 days as well. We can see here the reports that are pending signature. If I click on the report, I can already see 2 out of 3 have viewed and two out of 3 have signed, and it was sent 5 days ago. Clicking on this will give me some more details. So what it's telling me here is that the people who have signed are effectively the 2 members. It's just the tax agent who needs to sign it. So they haven't viewed it yet. They haven't signed it. We could resend it if required, but in this case, we know obviously the tax agent is going to be in our firm, so we can just ask Damien to complete that document there. The final one that I want to show you, and this is quite important as well from a security point of view. Many of you mentioned that was a very important part, and the reason we aligned ourselves with DocuSign is because of the security and the reliability that provided with the documents that are signed through DocuSign portal. So you have the ability to download a completed document at the end of the experience, right at the bottom of the report pack. So this is a report pack that has been signed. Right at the bottom of this, we will have a complete audit trail. So you can see the signatures here. Sorry, mate. And here is our audit trail. So I did notice a question that came through a little bit earlier around will the auditors accept DocuSign solution, the DocuSign class solution? So here is the full audit trail. So what we would suggest is to provide that to your auditor and have a discussion around what they're willing to accept for electronic signatures. But this is certainly something that is very important. On the Macquarie data feed activation, specifically for Macquarie Bank, if you're trying to activate that data feed, you do need to provide this electronic audit trail as well when you upload the actual signed data feeds. So something to keep in mind if you're wanting to use this functionality for Macquarie data feeds. Okay, so that's the signature tracking console. So quick reminder, available at the business level, available at the entity level under signature tracking, and you're able to go through all the functions here. One more point, the rejected ones. If a document is rejected, that's probably because there was an error identified by someone, they've decided not to sign it. So you can then come in here, identify the reason, and resend that out if required. So we've still got 2 areas to talk about. We're going to talk about very quickly the notification setting. So how do you know if a document has been signed or rejected, or another status. So that is under notifications. And what we can see here, for those of you who were at our SuperStream webinar recently, you would no doubt recall that we went through notifications for rollover and release authority. So if you haven't yet configured or added a contact in here, please do so by adding a contact. Contact needs to be someone that's pulled from the business contact screen. For electronic signatures, we have added a default line. So the default line is envelope creator. The person who creates the envelope, clicks the send button from the DocuSign portal, will automatically receive notification for cancelled, completed, failed, and rejected envelopes. You can turn that off by just unselecting the box and then potentially adding additional contacts. So if you know that there's a particular person, maybe an office manager, who wants to be notified of all completed envelopes so that they can then prepare that document for lodgement, then you may want to add them in here. So remember, if the email address needs to change or is not up to date, that can be done in the business contact screen. All right, the final part of the functionality is around white labels. So white labels is again a business level setting, settings, white labels. Many of you would no doubt have configured white labels in the past for things like your class reports, your client view, or your SMSF compilation report signature. You can, of course, have multiple white labels. So there's no limit on how many white labels you create. So you will notice that if I click on a white label, logos and signatures is what you previously would have noticed or gone to upload a logo for your relevant sections of class. Portfolios, this will add an entity, so SMSF, trust, or portfolio to a white label. So if you click add portfolio, it will show you all the entities that are not currently linked to that white label, and you can select that to add it to this white label. And the new tab that we've added is electronic signatures. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. So you have here the color scheme and you have the logo. So on the right-hand side, you can see what it looks like in the signing experience. So this is when the person signing clicks on the email with the link, takes them to the DocuSign portal. This is the branding that they will see with the color scheme that we've set up and the logo that we've set up. So you can see that for signing and the actual email template itself. In terms of how to configure the colors, if you click on here, you've got the option to enter the RGB code, which you could obtain from your marketing department. Clicking on the arrows will give you different options. So if you've got a different code, like a hex code or something else, then you can add it in that way as well. So spend a bit of time configuring those colors and uploading your logo. I will spend a little bit of time just going through a common issue that we encounter in terms of uploading a logo and how to make sure it doesn't look squished. So you do have sizing requirements here and file types, as well as the overall size of the document. So what I want to show you now is how do we configure a logo to the required size. We're going to do the one for the email, 150 by 150. Now, I'm just going to start by showing you on Paint. So if you obtain a copy of your logo, take it to Paint, open with Paint. If you just go and click on resize and put in pixels 150 by 150 and turn off this maintain aspect ratio, then this is what it looks like. So it doesn't look very good at all because it's been squished. So the question we often get is, well, how do we upload a logo without it looking squished? So that's what I'm going to show you very quickly. What we're going to do is take a look at a logo from that I've received from the marketing department. So I'm going to open that with Paint. Let me show you that experience. So this is my original logo. So I'm going to go to resize. I'm going to go to pixels, and I'm going to make this horizontal 150, but I'm going to keep this box ticked. Okay, keep this one ticked. Now, don't worry about my making notes. This is all documented in a user guide page, which we can share, but I just want to show you this experience. So it certainly looks a lot smaller now. We're going to save this as, and we're going to save it with, I'm going to add 150 to the name, so just 150 at the end. Save that. And I've previously saved it, so I'm just going to replace it. Now I'm going to create a new paint. I'm going to just zoom in, just so it's a little bit obvious. Resize pixels again. So it needs to be 150 by 150. I'm going to turn off the maintain aspect ratio, make this 150 and save it. Sorry. Paste from. So I'm just going to move it down into the middle. And so that is what I can save. And that way it doesn't look squished as it previously did. So I'm going to save it as 150, 150. And that can be uploaded then back in class under here. So I've got my email logo, which is this one here. And if I choose 150, 150, open, upload, and then I can save that. In terms of what it looks like, that's the preview there. So that's something that is a common question. How do you resize a logo without it looking funny? Get a copy of the logo, the original logo from your marketing department. And in terms of the user guide page, if you're looking for that on class, it's called How to Resize White Label Logo to Ideal Dimensions. So they're the instructions. That's what I've taken you through just now. So quite a lot to digest and get through, but what I'm going to do now is hand back to Ahmad, who's going to take you through the final part of the presentation. So thank you, Ahmad.
Thanks, Ed. I'd like to draw attention to our recently launched ideas portal, which has been live now for a few months. We've gotten really great engagement on this portal. It's a great way for customers to tell us directly what problems they want us to be solving for them. Also creates a great community between customers. So not only do customers get to enter new ideas that they want, they also get to see what other customers are asking for. And if things that are being asked for are resonating with them, then they get to upvote on their ideas. Also, they get to comment on each other's ideas and sometimes give each other some workarounds that may work. So in our context of e-signatures, we use the ideas portal to ship 13 new features post our beta launch in Feb to continuously enhance the product directly through customer feedback. And this would be your place once you do adopt the solution and start to engage with it, to give us more feedback on what we should be solving for next when it comes to e-signatures. So if you haven't already signed up, encourage you to register your interest. We'll drop the link in the chat below momentarily. But if you already have registered your interest and have a login, really encourage you to jump on the link, which will also be in the chat, and engage and tell us what problems you would like us to solve next. Thanks, sir. So yeah, finally wanted to just share that we have launched the pilot now, which is available to all class customers. And it's a free pilot that you can sign up to and use till 31st of January of next year. A lot of you in our last Zoom poll said that almost a third use signing packs more than 3 times for a given entity. Now, if for the audience that is still using a lot of snail mail, think about how much inefficiencies that's probably creating in your business, and use this free pilot time to just adopt a new way of doing things. And you've heard from us today about the value, but I would love for you to try it for yourself. Go road test the class solution and see if it really delivers the value for your business. And yeah, there's a small charge thereafter, so after the pilot, but really we encourage you to go on this link, register your interest, which would then start a conversation with your, say, account manager for next steps. That's all we have today, but we do have some questions that we want to answer live. So we'll just take a look at that.
Yeah, so the first one that I just want to pick up is on how do we know which of the data feed providers support electronic signatures? So at this point in time, certainly Macquarie Bank has specifically stated that they will accept electronic signatures. So they are one that is definitely supporting that. And in terms of other providers, we are working hard to engage with those providers and see if that's something that we can roll out going forward. So for now, if you are wanting to use it for Macquarie Bank, just make sure, as I mentioned earlier, you have a look at the user guide page for the Macquarie Bank data feed, because it does request that you upload a copy of the audit trail from DocuSign along with the data feed to ensure that they are able to activate that from their end. So that's something that's worth pointing out there. There's a question about whether we will include a copy of the presentation. We will, so we will send that out shortly after the presentation, and we should by next week also be able to send through a copy of the Q&A as well as a copy of the recording. And as always, we will upload that to the training section of our portal, our training portal under webinars. So if you've missed a previous webinar you'd like to go back to, please have a look at that section as well.
I'd like to take a few other questions. These are also they've come through our Q&A. One of them is the $50 an annual cost that's per entity regardless of the envelope sent? The short answer is yes, but it's in line with the fair usage policy as outlined in the class usage agreement. The second question that I want to take here is, can we pick and choose which funds from class we adopt e-signing for? So in the current model, it's all funds and entities that are under the business that will have to adopt the solution. Typically, we have heard some, I guess, concerns during the beta phase of maybe the older generation or maybe the less tech-savvy generation that was not too inclined. But we've seen that change recently, especially with the advent of COVID, whereas the adoption and the engagement from those audiences used to be around 10%, that's risen to close to 50%. So tides are changing even with those type of customers, and COVID has accelerated that. So if that's one of your concerns, I would really encourage you to, again, just try out the free pilot and get those customers to experience things in a different way, and see if you can get the same results as some of our beta clients did.
One more that I'd like to pick up on, Ahmad, there's a question about how do we have the functionality turned on? So we've included a link in the presentation slide. I think we'll also send that out to you guys shortly. But effectively, you do need to sign up to have this functionality enabled. So even for the free trial, something you need to register your interest in, and then we'll reach out to you with instructions as to what to do to have the functionality turned on. But if you are finding that you don't see some of the screens, some of the functionality, for example, the send for signing buttons when you're using class, that will be why. So just reach out to us using the link that we provide, and we will work with you to get that turned on for you. All right, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Ahmad, or?
We can take a few more live questions. One of them is, how would the pricing work if we only send one document per year? So it is a flat fee at this point of $1.50 per entity per month, regardless of usage.
Okay. I do have another question then from Yi about if you add a document to the envelope, is it possible to arrange it before the combined report? So yes, that is possible. So as I mentioned, you are able to move documents if they're separate documents. You're able to move them up and down. So you could, for example, put a letter if you wanted to at the top. You could move that to the top of the report pack. So that is something that can be done. All right. So look, we thank you for all your engagement and your great questions. For any that we haven't yet managed to answer, as I mentioned, we will do so. We will provide a copy of all the Q&A next week, along with the recording. So thank you very much for your time, engagement in the polls, and we look forward to you using our new electronic signature functionality very soon. And we look forward to catching up with you at one of our future webinars. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.